Hello, I'm AJ. I'm your hypoxia coach for today, and it's teacher training for the natural squat. Why do I call this the natural squat? Well, in general, this is a neutral stance for many individuals for squatting down to the chair. It is only 2 foot lengths long. When you make that 2 foot length stride, at that point, you turn the feet. So you're just about, for most people, it's about hip width apart. Now, this contrasts our sumo. That's 3 foot stride length, right? And it also contrasts our split stance, which is 4 foot stride length, right? So as I've spoken about before, using a multitude of foot lengths to help to titrate our just the width at which we're standing or the length at which we're standing helps to mobilize in the hip joint, because we're strengthening the endurance of the muscle in that joint position. And based on the width of the feet, we're going to train the joint differently based on how we're using the floor as resistance. And that's why, like in the sumo squat, we're pulling the feet together hard, we're activating our inner thighs. In this particular natural squat, it's a little more natural, like a natural squat position for most individuals. I would call the sumo maybe not as natural of a stance. And so I like to call this, some people call it the neutral squat, but I call it the natural squat. And that's what we're going to stay consistent with within the hypoxics functional sequence. And so for the natural squat, there is a bit of a hip hinge as well. And so I want you to put your hand on your low back. And this is also something that you can cue with clients. You're going to descend for 3 counts, and you're going to do foot taps. 1, 2, 3 as you descend down to your seat. And then on count 4, you equalize the weight between the 3 points in the foot tripod. Now in this particular exercise, I don't have you spreading the toes necessarily. I just want you to get equal with those 3 points on the foot tripod, just planting your foot hard down into the ground. The major footwork in this particular natural squat exercise is the shin endurance and forcing the weight back in the heel. And one of the reasons that we're not staying upright and vertical to the ground like we did in sumo squat is because with those foot taps, when we drive the weight back in the heel, we have the opportunity to really upregulate our hamstrings, and that's a great place to train the hip hinging position. So in level 1 of the natural squat, we interlace the fingers, we put them right behind the head, and you pull them apart hard. So if the fingers were slippery, the hands would pull straight apart. That's going to activate our lats, get us nice and activated in all of that muscle and that fascia that goes right down into the sacrum in the back. Such a wonderful way to stabilize. And then you'll really be able to feel your abdominals as you go down into the squat. So you're pulling those fingers apart. You're doing those, you're panoramic with the view to begin, and then as you descend, you're moving 1, 2, 3 to stare at the knees, and then coming up on count 4. So the gaze is very similar to what it is when we do the chair pistol, when we do a variety of exercises where when we hinge, we're staring at the knee joint. So again, it goes 1, 2, 3, up on 4. 3 counts down, 1 count up. That happens on each breath stage. Now, additionally, you want to make sure that as you tap your toes, you're driving your weight through the center of the heel. So not the outside of the heel, not the inside of the heel. I want you to be nice and neutral with the foot. Tap, tap, tap. So really working that shin, the endurance of the shin, which is great to help balance out those calf raises. And a lot of people forget about the endurance of the shin, and that's really important, especially if you're a runner or you're just a person who walks, because every time we pick up the foot, we work the shin. And if it doesn't have the strength to absorb the forces, well, then those forces are sadly going to go right into the joint, the bone. Some people get shin splints. It's important to strengthen that shin. So I'm putting I'm integrating foot taps into our functional sequence so that we can strengthen, really hardcore strengthen our shins, specifically our anterior tibialis. So let's take this exercise and tap both butt cheeks equally, our sit bones down equally, with the gaze down to the kneecaps. I want those kneecaps pointing between the second and third toe, not inside the big toe or outside the pinky toe, but right between the second and third toe with this one. And then move to a panoramic gaze when you come up, and that's specific. So let's take it from our zip up activation and let's align that with our level 1 breathography, and we'll take a few breath cycles in a row to practice it. Ready, go. Hiss, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale 1. Inhale 2. And a blow, 2, 3, and up, and hiss, 2, 3, up. Soft shish, loud shish. Inhale 1. Notice my low back is not moving. Blow, I'm going to add a 2-beat breath retention. This would be 1.2, hiss, 2, 3, up, soft shish, loosen the ribbon, loud shish, hold for 2, 1, 2, and up. Now, for the level 1 student, it may be that getting 3 foot taps on the descent is rather challenging. And so for that person, you may want to start with just 1 foot tap on the way down or 2 foot taps on the way down. That's individual to your client. When I demonstrate in the client demo video, I will do the 3 foot taps as the, as the default demo for the client and for you. Doesn't mean that you have to do it that way. The point of the foot tap is to get the weight back in the heels and strengthen the shins. So eventually we can work up to the triple foot tap, but it doesn't have to be a triple foot tap. Now, level 2, the only difference between level 1 and level 2 is interlacing the fingers overhead, just like we do in several of our other progressions of the hypoxics functional sequence. So here we stare at the knees, 1, 2, 3, and up. Let's practice 1 with a 4-beat breath retention. Hiss, 2, 3, 4, 5, inhale 1, inhale 2. Hold for 1, 2, 3, 4, and inhale. Whew, that feels good. And that's hands overhead is just a wonderful methodology of adding a challenge to the ribs and keeping those ribs nice and internally rotated, especially with that hard exhale. Now, when we go to level 3, we're going to add in, the only thing we're going to add is adding resistance around the pelvis. I love the resistance around the pelvis for this one because it helps to remind us that in this natural squat, one of the things we're training is our hip hinge. So I would argue this is getting us ready for a deadlift, and we are going to add resistance under the feet in level 4 and 5. And so you're going to see what I mean by that. So fingers are interlaced again. Make sure to always switch the grip. Always start with a non-dominant grip if you can. And I'm going to demonstrate. Let's go a 4 and a 6-beat breath retention. So this would be close to like a level 3.4 right here. Zip up, inhale. Hiss, 2, 3, 4, 5, inhale 1, inhale 2. You can squeeze the glutes on the way up, as long as you don't posteriorly tilt the pelvis, loud shish. Hold 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold on the inhale, engage. 2. Now we're going to do 6. Hold for 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a 6. Now, level 4 gets really fun in level 4. And in fact, I'm going to get a slightly heavier band here if I can reach it. Holy moly, these bands are awesome. Still same 2 foot width apart, 15 degrees. The only change here is that we're adding here resistance to our hip hinge. You want to make sure that band is solid because we're still doing those foot taps, and you want to make sure here that the shoulder blades pull together the whole time for this exercise because you want to protect the shoulder joint, and you're also strengthening the back of the shoulder, resisting that resistance from below. Zip up. Let's take a 2-beat retention. I'll show you what I mean. Overhand grip, chest is open. Hiss, 2, 3, 4, 5, inhale 1, inhale 2. Hold, 4, 3, 2, and a 1, so on and so forth. That is level 4, 4.1, 4 sets of no breath retentions, always holding on that inhale. 4.2, 3 sets of 2 retentions. This is pretty standard and default amongst all the hypoxics functional sequence. 4.3, adding those 4-beat breath retentions. 0.4, 464 breath retention formula, and then going up to level 5, we're at 6-beat breath retentions. Now, for level 5, we're working ipsilateral with the resistance, and a little change here. Watch my feet. I'm moving to a kickstand with 1 foot. So I'm emphasizing most of my weight on 1 foot. This is a wonderful way just to get 60% of the body weight on one side. Other hand is behind the head here. We're keeping that band around the pelvis. I like the red band to begin with this one. We're doing the foot taps. We're doing everything. We're going 1, 2, 3. So notice here, I'm just keeping my weight there on the third toe of my kickstand leg. Very similar to that chair pistol, right? Those first couple levels of the chair pistol, teaching that knee to stay in line by emphasizing the third toe and then coming up. Blow, 2, 3, and up, and hiss, turning that shoulder to stay back, and of course doubling the resistance by having that small band just under that same side ipsilateral foot. Deet, deet, deet. Now you also, the next progression and the last progression is to cross the body with the band. So now we have that rotational component that we're also working on, resisting rotation. The other hand is behind the head is pressing back into the hand, it's slightly lifting it up. Let me demonstrate this one. Otherwise the movement is the same and the gaze is the same, but focusing mostly on the standing knee as the fixed gaze, on the descent, and then moving back to panorama on the way up. Let's do one with the 6-beat breath retention. Zip up, inhale. Hiss, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale 1. Inhale 2. Hold. 4, 6, 2. Keep the ribbon loose. 3, 4, 5, and a 6. And that's it. And of course, you would have 2 more breath cycles with the 6-beat breath retention on that in general. On the level 5, sometimes 2 breath cycles based on the repetition range of your client, and that's always based on your client. This natural stance, this natural squat is really important to train because of the necessity for the ability for your client to be able to have strength and range of motion, stability and mobility with the feet about hip width apart. Also important to have strength here. Also important to have strength here. And this is why we use foot width, foot length for the stride length, and the width in all of the hypoxics functional exercises, high level of specificity to make sure that the hips, the knees, the ankles, the shoulders, the wrists, the head have full range of motion and full stability and mobility. So you can live pain-free and have a lot of strength. And a lot of respiration and CO2 tolerance too. All right, see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.